This is the aftermath of a head-on collision between two trains in Folkston, Georgia. And we now have a completed investigation report from the National Transportation Safety Board. This all happened at 1:20 p.m. on Monday, April 15, 2024. The NTSB's report said CSX intermodal train I-03215 struck CSX rock train L-74314 at 28 miles per hour after being inadvertently diverted onto the wrong track. The collision sent 3 crew members to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. 5 locomotives were damaged and 2 of those derailed, along with 3 rail cars. As you can see, this engine was exposed to a fire that started on the car behind it. Meanwhile, this locomotive suffered significant damage after it was pushed into the rock hoppers it was coupled to. Fortunately, both of these units were unoccupied during the impact. This incident occurred here at what's known as the Folkston Funnel. If you didn't know, this town is a hotspot for rail activity with train traffic rolling by at all hours of the day and night. Of course, this incident left many people asking, how could this happen with all the modern safety equipment the railroads have in place? The NTSB says before the accident, this location was under a signal suspension for maintenance and upgrades, and track warrant authority was under observation. Track warrants are instructions issued by a dispatcher to a train crew to authorize specific train movements. In the area under the signal suspension, the NTSB report said trains were instructed to have PTC or positive train control cut out, basically meaning disabled. At the time of the accident, the NTSB says a CSX conductor was assigned to serve as a switch tender to manually throw switches. The switches in question were dual control power switches that are typically unmanned and remotely operated when signal systems are online. Here's the switch that was involved, a Union Switch and Signal M23A switch machine. This little machine is a lot different from the fully manual hand throws you may see in a train yard. Now, according to the NTSB, quote, some dual control power switches, such as those the conductor was lining, can be difficult to operate because of the transition from powered to manual or hand throw mode. Unlike single-controlled manual switches, when switching dual-controlled power switches to hand throw mode, the hand throw lever may need to be cycled back and forth to line the switch to the intended position. The NTSB said, quote, internal components and locking mechanisms sometimes disengage during the transition from powered to hand throw mode. In its analysis of the incident, the NTSB said, quote, the conductor likely threw the main track 1 switch once, the typical procedure for normalizing a reversed manual switch, and inadvertently left it lined for main track 2. During an interview, the NTSB said the conductor, who was throwing the switches that day, told them he didn't remember ever operating a dual-controlled, power-operated switch in manual mode and also did not remember receiving training on how to do so. CSX conductors and engineers receive much of their training here at the company's Ready Center in Atlanta, Georgia. Further investigation by the NTSB revealed CSX conductor training does include a video and hands-on training with dual-control powered switches, and that the conductor in question did complete that training, although it's unclear if he was able to do the hands-on portion. Class sizes may have been too large for him to do this, according to the NTSB. Because of his limited experience with this piece of hardware, the NTSB deduced that while the conductor was performing his duties in Folkston before the incident, he, quote, likely did not recognize that the hand throw lever may need to be cycled back and forth to line the switch to the intended position. Despite this, the NTSB's report said that CSX's operating rules and federal regulations require employees to verify the switch's position after operating it. The NTSB suggested that the accident might have been avoided if CSX had required the signal maintainer, who was also present that day, to verify the position of the switch. Okay, so here's another important piece of information that the NTSB brought up in its report. At the time of the accident, CSX did not have a rule requiring trains to run at restricted speed during a signal suspension, meaning the trains would be required to move slowly enough to stop within half the range of visibility. Shortly after the incident, CSX issued a safety alert saying, quote, trains must approach all switches within the limits of the signal suspension at restricted speed until it is known they are lined for the authorized and intended route. Okay, so here's the conclusion of the NTSB's investigation. Quote, the NTSB determines that the probable cause of the CSX transportation head-on collision was a combination of an improperly lined, dual-controlled power-operated switch that a conductor did not know how to properly operate, and the conductor's failure to verify its position as required. Contributing to the accident was CSX Transportation's insufficient training and failure to implement operational procedures such as a restricted speed requirement and secondary verification of switch position to mitigate the risk of misaligned switch accidents during a signal suspension. Of course, there's always something to be learned from every incident and investigation. And hopefully this answers any lingering questions you may have. As always, thanks for watching.